Thanks for joining us for part two with Jennifer Hansen. She is back with more stories, insights, and guidance when life throws curveballs. So stay tuned. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm Kendra Nielsen, wife, mom, and licensed therapist. Do you ever feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still exhausted and empty? Did you think life, marriage, and parenting would be simpler and more rewarding? Sometimes you just want to crawl back into bed and lose yourself in screen time and chocolate, rather than face that personal or family stress. You are not alone. This podcast helps you break free of the rat race and build a richer, more meaningful life, flourishing incrementally and realistically, improving your mental health and wellness, and living with deeper purpose beyond the mundane, no matter where you are in life's journey. I've loved hanging out with you. And in many of those experiences, you've shared a story about your daughter, and I don't know if you'd be comfortable sharing, but talking about life not going as expected. Do you mind sharing any of that?
Yeah. So briefly, my daughter, around 2 years old, she ended up just kind of going into herself, meaning stop talking. It almost looked like she was blind or deaf. Like the way she was acting is like she went up into the clouds and we couldn't connect with her, kind of thing. It's the best way I can explain it. And then she started having night terrors. We tried therapy, speech therapies. Didn't really work at all. Then she fell down the stairs and hit her head pretty hard a couple years later, started having seizures pretty regularly. We had some blood tests, showed that she had some Hashimoto's, like early stages of autoimmune disease. So all these things, like her own perfect storm, right? And I always said I didn't want a girl because it just scared me. I just didn't feel like I do well with a girl. I relate well with men and boys. At first, I was like, maybe this is why, because this is exhausting and it's scary and unknowns and emotional roller coasters of trying to find the right thing for her. Not just listen to mainstream, but use inspiration, use our hearts, follow her path that she wants. We feel strongly that she is so in tune with what she needs, even though she can't express it verbally, that we would just watch her and listen to her. And it always worked out beautifully that way. She liked somebody, we're like, this is where we need to be. If she hated somebody, we're like, it's not going to work. We don't need to be here. This is not the stuff that she needs to be doing. She had her own little perfect storm, that we were experiencing. And it also taught us to be self empowered, which I think was the beginning of my desire to help families just be empowered, to empower families to make their own decisions. Was the moment we said thanks, but no thanks, we'll find a way. We didn't feel like that was her path. And when we went in for the EEG results, it was basically like she'll never get better. She'll need to start on medications and find the right one. We just felt sick with that idea and just said thanks, but no thanks. And even though we were harassed for many, many months to get the medication, we just kept saying it's not the right answer. We continually found options for her to heal. She's thriving now. She doesn't have full speech and cognitive ability, but she is doing really well. She doesn't have seizures, like all of that. We took holistic approaches that we felt as we listened to her to inspired things that came into our lives. We took those things and ran with them. But again, I mean, that's another perspective giver, right? You just never know what's going to happen. I was afraid to have a girl because
Oh, right.
all right. And then I would say something like, this is why, this must be why, because it was going to be so hard. But then I realized it's because I was going to have to learn a lot of things. And I was have to be willing to do that because she's my growth opportunity. She's the person that teaches me how to be playful, have fun, just live life. I mean, there's not a time she doesn't have Disney music on and we're just blaring out the music and none of her words hardly make sense. Some of them she's got, but we're just happy and we're free and we're letting go. I've learned more from her than I've learned from anybody. So the stoic, sometimes too focused person that I can be, she helps me unravel a little bit and let loose. It's beautiful. She's a gift. I see her as a gift that I wasn't ready or wasn't sure I could handle. She's awesome.
I appreciate how you said that. She's my growth opportunity. And I think that's what so many of these derailments or setbacks are, the things that don't go according to plan. I've shared before that we had 2 miscarriages, we had fertility problems, we potentially lost twins for one of those, and just all of these things, like lots of lost jobs and moving all around. I look back on our path and if you have one of those maps, it would be like very derailed, like all over the place, and it would look like a failure, right? You're like, what are they doing? And that's exactly what we needed. And that mindset shift of like, okay, how has this been an opportunity for growth? That's exactly what your daughter has been for you and helped with those edges. Like maybe you're too focused. And so, like you had said, just wearing down those rough spots that we all need. And I think that all of that meandering in my life personally has done that same thing. So, thank you for speaking to that.
One of my favorite things that I tell myself now, at least lately, is when things are getting a bit adventurous. I'll call it productive. I do not love the word busy. When things are overly productive in the moment, or I'm feeling exhausted or stressed, I just stop and say, man, what a privilege it is to be exhausted or so productive and have so much going on. Once upon a time, we probably asked to have this success, this time, this opportunity. Maybe we weren't as specific as we needed to be when we asked for things. We're getting it the way we asked. It changes perspective and be like, okay, I asked for this in some way, shape, or form. Is it really what I want? Then I can shape my questions a little differently. Questions are important. How do you ask for things? For example, in prayers, I think this is really important if you're a praying person or not. But either way, I'm like, I would really like for this to happen. Can you help me make this happen? But if not, help me to see what I need to do or help me to just be grateful for this challenge and opportunity. But if not, I have to add to that because who am I to say what the path is and to be forceful of that? We just don't know. I just find that things flow to me and happen for me a little easier when I let go of the perceived outcome and allow things to come that needs to help me get to that outcome, whatever way that needs to be. Less
Yeah,
stressful that way.
absolutely. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because maybe some people haven't quite
Sure.
heard that before.
Sure.
Said that to me versus for me
Oh, yeah.
mindset. What does that look like?
Part of that is just being a victim or being a cause, right? Like, does everything happen to you and you're the victim of everything? Therefore, I don't grow and I'm stuck. Or do I stand as captain cause and take responsibility for everything that's happening in my life? At some point, we inspired this, asked for this, or whatever. We encouraged this certain circumstance that we're in. And we created it in some respect. So we have to say, how can I take full responsibility? What even the smallest, minutest thing could I have done differently? Because it's really just about learning and reframing things in our minds, right? It's not like I'm at fault. It's not about fault finding and beating yourself up. It's really just like, how can I reframe the thing in my mind and how can I move forward? So in the moments we're experiencing every single day, we're either going to learn from them or we're going to be stuck from them. We're going to grow and move forward or we're going to stay stuck. And nobody wants to stay stuck. Nobody truly wants to. But not everybody understands the tools or the way to not stay stuck. And that's one of the biggest ways. A lot of times everything's just neurological, right? And everything is just a chemical reaction, a thought, a feeling. It's just inside. And so if we can just practice, because it is a skill, right? Nobody's innately really good at this stuff, but reminding ourselves how to think better. We have to practice it in that moment. Maybe think Captain Cause. Maybe that's something that rings in your mind. How can I be Captain Cause? Or, how can I take full responsibility for this? A lot of things would be fixed, right? Relationships probably would go a lot better. I can still do better at that. Amen.
Taking ownership, not pointing fingers. That makes me think of relationships. It's our nature, I guess, if you will, to want to be that victim for a second or to point the finger of like, well, he did this or this wouldn't have happened if you would have, like that kind of language. And it's easy to not see our part. And so I tell my clients all the time, like, own your part. We all have something that we could have done to improve a situation and focus on that. You talked about, I'm trying to remember your wording, but like sometimes where you can get stuck for a little while. Do you have a personal example of when maybe you've stayed stuck for a little longer than maybe you would have liked to and how you manage that, how you got back into that and just focused on the next step to get out of that space?
The most prominent one, and as you speak to this too, is all in relationships because you're so close. And it's usually the closest ones to you that you experience the most friction with, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
Just
That's
normal.
just like the most important entity of this life is supposed to grow, and you can do the most growing together. Marriage is a beautiful thing. So I would say in marriage, there was a lot of, you're not seeing me, you're not valuing me. And I've learned that as independent as I am, I too really like appreciation. I'm very intrinsically driven. There was a moment where I was going all day, and boy, was I productive. I probably needed to slow down a minute and just breathe. When I was doing all the things and I wasn't expecting anything, I was just in the zone. And my husband stops and says, "You were rocking it today. You're doing amazing. I appreciate this. I appreciate that." But it just took me out of my zone, so to speak. And I took a breath and I felt light and I was like, huh, yeah, I do feel it. But what I also learned was that if it felt that good for me, I should be doing that a lot more for my family members
Yeah.
because you're just going and going. It's like everybody wants to be appreciated, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of my goals to every day appreciate my family members for something. I'm not 100% on it, but it's like never ending goal. I just loved how that felt. And I have such an emotional attachment to that. As I have utilized that with my husband, I realized he produces better because he's feeling the same thing. He's feeling some release. Oh, yeah, I am doing this for a positive reason. It's seen, it's heard, it's appreciated. Keep going. I've got more energy now to go do the thing. Yeah, being selfish and like me is not helpful. It's actually heavier and harder. And just to say, actually, yeah. So that's one I was thinking of.
That's a good example of that too, because yes, it's normal human experience, right? Especially in our closest relationships, like you mentioned. In this relationship with your husband, he was an amazing example of pausing and going out of his way, even though you weren't asking for it, to point out how great you were doing in this area and how good that felt. Reminds me of the magic ratio. I haven't mentioned it for a while, so I want to say it's 5 to 1, five positives to one negative, especially in parenting and those things. And we all need that. Even just simple things like, can you please turn off the light? Can you please put away your backpack? Can you please put away your shoes? Did you do your job yet? Like when they're hearing
All
that
the time.
day, your day, moment to moment, like how many of those were actually positive? I took the time yesterday, even this morning too, with both my son and my daughter. I slowed down enough. I took my son on a date and we talked. He was having some challenges and since then, he has been so chipper and sweet and affectionate. And it's almost like he was begging for my attention and I didn't clue into it. And the same with my daughter. She was having some challenges at school that I didn't know. And just this morning, I slowed down enough to ask some questions, be soft and loving, and she just started bawling as she talked about it. She needed that. Do we slow down enough to offer that to our loved ones? This is not from a shame thing, but is that small percent we could improve to really think about what matters most, for like what you talked about?
Right. And it's not to say we can't work hard and keep going and driving, but it's just that ability to switch. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes a small moment to stop.
Yeah. And we all
Stop
need
and
it. Even if
feel.
we're in a good mood, like you were doing fine, it sounds like, but to hear
Mhm.
that, to feel that appreciation, that love. I want to share two last quotes to wrap things up a little bit, but one is by Bernice Johnson Reagon. And she said, "Life's challenges are not supposed to paralyze you, they're supposed to help you discover who you are." And the second one is unknown. "The greatest setback can lead to your greatest breakthrough. Trust and believe that all things are working together for your good." So, any thoughts on those or final thoughts in general?
We already spoke about some of the greatest breakthroughs, the succession of the challenge, the choice, and then the opportunity, which is kind of a cool concept, right? Challenge, the choice you make, the opportunity that's there waiting for you, depending on the choice you make. So, what came to my mind when you said that is the word compassion. It's not something I have ever really felt I'm really good at. It has been a serious, conscious effort to make sure that I At least in my mind, that's what I always thought and felt. But this whole succession of challenge, choice, opportunity, and everything that's followed has taught me that challenges do help you be more compassionate, generally speaking, more empathetic. I am a compassionate person. I realized I was just comparing myself to other people's type of compassion. I'm mega compassionate. When I got asked to be a release president, I was like, are you sure? Because I know this takes a lot of compassion. I've learned that I have so much to give and I give it all the time. It just looks different than the person next to me. Parents in general, we can't say we're not compassionate because we're constantly being compassionate in our own way. But that's what stood out to me. If I could just say anything too, is also take it easy on yourself. I've been told that numerous times in the past, and I'm telling others now to do the same because I've realized, gotta just take it easy on yourself. We're so hard on ourselves.
I'll just relax a little bit and recognize that.
Relax, take time for self to be creative and release the stress and pressure. Gotta have a creative outlet, even if it's tiny, short, whatever. It helps so much. We just get so cerebral. We get so conscious thinking. We get so driven and we're not tapping in and just releasing. And that's a skill too. It really is. The creative space or creative opportunities. I mean, for me, it could range from just going for a walk. I'm going to put myself out there and maybe even embarrass myself, but I sometimes will be talking to my ancestors and I'll be just like, all right, you guys, you're in my sphere. You're in the ring with me. What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? And it's just more of a let go. And like I said, you can talk to yourself, but it's really helpful. Or just breathing, just getting out. So that's a creative release. For me, it's coloring. Sometimes coloring with like the coolest markers, with the simplest pictures. It's very releasing. I did a couple coloring books on Amazon. They're mindset coloring books on gratitude, on resilience, on excellence. And that was a creative release for me. Super fun. And I loved it. People do crafty things. It just, whatever speaks to you. Instruments, singing. Singing is fun. Dancing is also good. Like I said, with my daughter, when we put on Disney, you can belt that stuff. It's a release. Those are some
I
of the
love that
things.
you shared that story about your daughter and just envisioning her letting loose and how we can all learn from that. We need that step away from everything to get that clarity and energy out.
Ironically, the song that she loves to belt the most is Let It Go. So I think that's very telling.
Thank you, Jen, for coming on the show. Is there any final thought you'd like to leave with us today?
Be grateful in the moment. Everything is a gift in the moment, no matter how hard, and take it easy on yourself. When we can do that, we can be more present and our life is going to be more full and consequently more successful. Seems so simple, but I promise it works. I'm still working on it. It's an eternal challenge that we get to work on. So,
If people want to reach out to you for coaching or anything else, is there a time or place they should reach out to you?
great question. Right now, I have people reaching out to me through friends and connections, usually through phone number or email. I just have a personal email. I have disconnected myself from all of it. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Jen Hansen, and happy to connect, happy to just talk and chat it out. I'm here for you. If it turns into something more, great. Currently I have an international basketball player, retired one that I'm working with, which is just random and crazy, but I'm open as it needs to be. If you ever need Costa Vida, that's where I'm at right now. Just give me a holler.
That sounds great.
It's delicious.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your insights and wisdom with us. It's all very helpful things that I know that we can relate to.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to remind myself, if not others, what I can do better today.
Oh, of course.
You're awesome, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You too. I hope you enjoyed part 2 with Jennifer Hansen. She is such a joy, a good friend, and said so many things that I took to heart and applied myself personally, and I'm sure that you will as well. You can find additional details and notes from this podcast in our show notes, but also on fulfillmenttherapy.org, along with our blog that goes with those episodes. So don't forget to check that out. We will see you back here every Monday with new episodes. Until then. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this episode, a quick 30-second share can help someone else find support and help this podcast grow. Leaving a review on Apple Podcasts boosts visibility and keeps the show alive. Your simple acts make a big difference. I'll see you back here each week for more life-changing episodes.